Everyone thinks NBA beef gets settled by counting rings. 4 championships versus 0. Argument over. Case closed. Next topic. But here's the thing about the Draymond Green and Kenyon Martin feud. It's not really about championships at all. It is about something way more uncomfortable. It is about identity. Because when Kenyon Martin called Draymond a calculated fake tough guy, he wasn't taking a random shot. He was asking a question that cuts to the core of how we evaluate basketball players. Can you carry your own brick? And what makes this particular beef fascinating isn't just what was said, it is who said it. Because these two guys, they came from the exact same place. Saginaw, Michigan. Population about 44,000. A city that has lost over half its residents since the 1960s. Manufacturing jobs gone. Poverty rate consistently among the highest in the state. The kind of place where hope is hard to come by. But every now and then Saginaw produces someone who makes it out. Someone who gives the whole city something to believe in. Kenyon Martin was born there on December 30th, 1977. His mother was a single parent working 2 jobs. The family eventually moved to Oak Cliff, a neighborhood in Dallas, where Kmart grew up and learned to play ball. But when you look up his birthplace, it says Saginaw, Michigan. Draymond Green was born there on March 4th, 1990, almost exactly 12 years later. Unlike Kmart, Draymond never left. He grew up in Saginaw, went to Saginaw High School, and led them to Class A state championship. Here's where it gets interesting. Draymond has talked about this on his podcast, how in a small city like Saginaw, you root for anyone who makes it out. He rooted for Serena Williams because she was born there. He rooted for Kenyon Martin because Kmart's dad, Paul Roby, played at Draymond's high school.
Growing up in a city like Saginaw, Michigan, you're always looking for hope when you grow up in a city like that. So another person that was born in Saginaw, Michigan was Serena Williams. And although these two people that I just mentioned didn't quite grow up in Saginaw, spent some of their younger lives in Saginaw, but didn't quite grow up in Saginaw. A city with so much pride, like a small city like Saginaw, still root for those people relentlessly.
So imagine being a 10-year-old Draymond Green in the year 2000, watching a kid from your hometown get drafted first overall in the NBA. That is the ultimate hope for a city like Saginaw. That is proof that it's possible. And now, 24 years later, those two guys are going at each other on podcasts and social media. How does that happen? It started on Gil's Arena. Simple question. Who are the real tough guys in the NBA? Kenyon Martin gave his lists. He mentioned some names, but Draymond Green, not on it. More than that, Kmart called Draymond's toughness calculated. He suggested Draymond only picks on guys who won't truly retaliate. In other words, fake tough. Now, for most people, that will sting, but you move on. But Draymond, he went on his podcast and dropped the nuclear option.
To be the number 1 pick and make the All-Star game one time, most would say it's probably an underachievement. Be that I was the 35th pick and made the All-Star game 4 times. Defensive player of the year, Kenyon Martin was a defender. I think he would consider himself a good defender. Never quite reached the pinnacle of that when you talk defensive player of the years, or 9 all defensive teams that I had, that I have, and he has 0.
On paper, Draymond wins the argument easily. 4-time NBA champion, 2017 Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time All-Star, 9-time All-Defensive Team, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, while Kmart is 1-time All-Star, no All-Defensive Teams, 2-time NBA Finals appearance but lost both. Accolade gap is massive. If this were a resume competition, Draymond wins by a landslide, but Kmart wasn't interested in comparing resumes. He had a different framework entirely. The brick tests. Kmart came back with fire, and instead of defending his own career, he did something smarter. He introduced an entirely new way to evaluate Draymond's success. Let's call it the brick test. The idea is simple. In basketball, every player has to carry their own brick. Your brick is your individual contribution to winning. The question is, can you carry it alone, or do you need someone else to help you lift it? Kmart pulled out the numbers.
Little Birdie told me that games that Steph has played without Draymond. He is 53 and 38 in those games. Games without Draymond. He's winning percentage without Draymond.
Now Kmart was citing numbers from he made the video. Let's update them with the most current stats. Steph Curry has now played over 90 career games without Draymond, and he maintains a winning record around 64% win rate. That is playoff caliber. Then came the gut punch.
You've played 128 games without Steph. Wonder what that record is. That same little birdie told me that record 52, 76, 128 games. Under 500.
Current number 5175. Draymond Green without Stephen Curry is a losing player, a lottery team player. Let that sit for a second. The 4-time champion, defensive player of the year, the guy who just called Kmart an underachiever without Stephen Curry, he is below 500%. And Kmart wasn't done.
In those same said games, you shoot 41% from the field, brother, and 29% from three. Once again, who ain't carrying their own brick?
Tests allies and enemies, the counter-arguments. Now, before we hand to Kmart the trophy, we have to be fair. There are legitimate counter-arguments here. Counter-argument number 1. Draymond is a defensive specialist. His value was never about scoring. He's an elite communicator and switch-everything defender, a guy who makes everyone around him better. His career averages 8.7 points, 6.9 rebounds, 5.6 assists don't capture what he actually does on the floor. That is all true, but here's a problem. The brick test isn't measuring scoring, it is measuring winning. And when Draymond is the only star on the floor, the winning stops. Counter-argument number 2. Those games without Steph include the 2019-2020 tank season. In 2019-2020, Steph missed most of the season with a broken hand. Klay Thompson was out with an ACL injury, and Kevin Durant was gone. The Warriors went 15 and 50. Draymond played 43 games that year and was, according to Kmart, 12th highest scorer on that team.
Is that brick too heavy? Is that brick too heavy? Like we get it if you got to carry your own merit, you got to go on your own merit.
But here's the fair pushback. That team was designed to lose. They were tanking for draft position. Is it fair to judge Draymond's individual value based on a team that wasn't trying to win? Maybe not entirely, but even if you threw out that season, Draymond's record without Steph is still barely above 500% in the remaining games. The pattern holds. Counter-argument number 3, role players don't need to carry teams. This is actually Draymond's own argument. He has a whole theory about swing players versus stars.
Your job is to swing one series. And what I mean by that is you be the piece in one series that swings the series. Because we know what Steph going to do. We know what Klay going to do. We know what Draymond going to do. We know what they're going to bring to the floor. We need one player that we're not necessarily expecting to do X to swing the series. And so when you go look at our championship run that Nick Young was a part of, Nick Young was the swing player in the Houston series. Game 6 and 7, Nick Young was one of the primary defenders on James Harden. Nick Young hit big threes. He swung the series for us.
And he's not wrong. Role players don't need to carry teams for 82 games. They need to step in key moments. Draymond has absolutely done that. His Game 7 performance in the 2016 finals, 32 points, 15 rebounds and 9 assists, is one of the most clutch performances by a non-star in finals history. But here's where Kmart flips the script. If Draymond is a role player, why is he calling a number 1 pick an underachiever? Role players don't get to talk down to franchise cornerstones. This is where the argument gets genuinely interesting. Kmart made a point that is easy to overlook.
I was actually, you know what? I was actually asked to score for us to win. I was actually asked to put that little round thing into that other little round thing. like for real, like they asked me to do. They ran plays like for me, like to go do. I just wasn't a passer. I wasn't sitting there finding guys and two of the best shooters of all time.
Let's look at what Kmart was actually asked to do in his prime. In the 2002 NBA Finals, his second year in the league, the Nets faced the Shaq and Kobe Lakers dynasty. Kmart averaged 22 points per game in that series, leading New Jersey in scoring. He was 24 years old, going against one of the most dominant teams in NBA history, and he was the primary offensive option. The Nets got swept, but was that Kmart's fault? He was a 6'9" power forward being asked to help contain Shaquille O'Neal while also being the team's leading scorer.
The guys that I had to guard, different. Night in, night out, different.
The following year, 2003, the Nets made it back to the finals against Tim Duncan's Spurs. Kmart averaged 17.6 points and 8.6 rebounds for the series. They lost in 6. Here's the key distinction. Kmart was drafted to be alpha. He was asked to score, to defend the opponent's best player, to carry the offensive load, and while he never won a championship, he got to the finals twice in his first 3 seasons and competed hard against literal dynasties. Draymond was drafted to be a role player, a camp body, as Kmart called it. His job was never to score 20 a night. His job was to defend, communicate, and make plays for Steph and Clay.
I am shocked and appalled that you don't have an Elmer's Glue sponsorship, bro. Because if you look it up in the dictionary, they should have your picture next to the Elmer's Glue thing, bro. Like glue, Draymond. Yes, bro. Absolutely. Every team needs one. You change that dynamic the way certain GMs look at glue guys, right? Second round picks. Like you changed the narrative for a lot of second round picks. Good job. I wouldn't know nothing about that. Never been considered a glue guy.
Insult is brutal precisely because it is not entirely wrong. Draymond is the ultimate glue guy. He connects the pieces. He makes everything work, but glue needs something to hold together. Now let's address the original accusation. Is Draymond's toughness actually calculated? This is where the Draymond's history becomes relevant. Over his career, Draymond Green has accumulated the second most ejections in the NBA history, 21 and counting, behind only Rasheed Wallace. He has been suspended from playoff games. He's punched a teammate. He's put another player in a chokehold during a game. Let's run through the highlight reel. 2016 NBA Finals Game 4. Draymond swings at LeBron James' groin after LeBron steps over him. The league retroactively gives him a flagrant foul which, combined with previous flagrant points, triggers an automatic suspension for Game 5. The Warriors lose that game, then lose Game 6 and 7, blowing a 3-1 lead. Many believe this suspension cost Golden State a championship. 2018, Draymond gets into a heated argument with Kevin Durant during a game against the Clippers. The Warriors suspend him 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team. Durant leaves the following summer. 2022 video leaks of Draymond Green punching a teammate Jordan Poole during practice. The Warriors fine him but don't suspend him. Poole is traded to next offseason. November 2023, Draymond puts Rudy Gobert in a chokehold during an on-court altercation. The NBA suspends him 5 games. December 2023, less than a month later, returning from Gobert's suspension, Draymond strikes Yusuf Nurkic in the face during a game. The NBA suspends him indefinitely. He missed 12 games before being reinstated after completing league-mandated counseling. Here's the pattern Kmart is pointing to. Many of Draymond's most explosive incidents happen when Steph isn't playing or when the Warriors are struggling. One NBA player told the media after Gobert incident, "Every time Steph doesn't play, Draymond doesn't want to play without his guy Steph, so he's doing anything to get ejected." That might be unfair speculation, but it does raise the question, are these outbursts genuine competitive fire or are they, as Kmart suggests, calculated choices about when to cross the line? Draymond himself has admitted he thinks about these things.
It's a little unfortunate, but I'm just here to help, man. You need help understanding what it is to be a winner, how to be a winner.
The 50 power forwards list And then Kmart went for it. He clearly thought he was the kill shot. He read off a list over 50 power forwards he considers better than Draymond Green.
Giannis, Anthony Davis, Dirk, Charles Barkley, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone, Chris Webber, Amari Stoudemire, Chris Bosh, Rasheed Wallace, Pau Gasol, Elton Brand, Antoine Jameson, Zach Randolph, Carlos Boozer, David West, Jermaine O'Neal, Sean Kemp, Derek Coleman.
He kept going and going. He even threw in some names for shits and giggles.
And for shits and giggles, you ain't better than Popeye Jones, Bo Outlaw, Reggie X. Just for shits and giggles. Just because I like what they did for their team.
Now Draymond worse than Popeye Jones? Obviously not, that is ridiculous. But the list raises a real question. As a pure power forward, where does Draymond actually rank? If you're evaluating him purely on individual offensive production, points, rebounds, traditional power forward stuff, he probably doesn't crack the top 30 power forwards of his era. His career average of 8.7 points per game would be unremarkable on any other team. But if you're evaluating him on impact, championships won, defensive influence, basketball IQ, team success, he's easily in top 10 of his generation. Which brings us back to the core question. What are we actually measuring? Who actually won this beef? So who wins the argument? Here's the honest answer. Both of them have a point, and neither of them is completely right. Kmart's strongest argument. The brick test is real. Draymond Green's individual value is fundamentally tied to playing alongside Steph Curry. Without Steph, Draymond is a losing player with poor performance and offensive numbers. Kmart successfully recontextualized how we should think about Draymond's success, not as individual greatness but as contextual greatness. Draymond's strongest argument is championships matter, impact matters. Kmart went to 2 finals and lost both. Draymond went to 6 and won 4. You can argue about context all you want, but at the end of the day, Draymond has 4 rings and Kmart has 0. The glue guy is essential to winning, maybe more essential than the guy who scores 20 a night but cannot get over the hump. Where Kmart overreaches, the 50 power forwards list is mostly trolling. Putting Popeye Jones above Draymond Green is objectively absurd. Draymond will be a Hall of Famer, Kmart will not. Acting like there's no difference in their careers undermines his legitimate points. Where Draymond overreaches, calling Kmart an underachiever for making only 1 All-Star game, ignores the context of Kmart's career. Kmart played in an era stacked with elite power forwards. Duncan, KG, Webber, Rasheed Wallace, Dirk Nowitzki making 1 All-Star game while competing against that group is more impressive than making 4 while playing alongside the greatest shooting backcourt in NBA history. Also, and this is important, Kmart never made an all-defensive team despite being a legitimate defender. You know why? Here's what Kmart himself said.
But ask them, same people who I had to guard, what did I bring to the table?
Is that sour grapes? Maybe. But it is also true that defensive awards often go to players on winning teams, and Kmart spent most of his prime on 500 squads in weak Eastern Conference. So what is the takeaway from Saginaw split? Lesson 1. Context matters more than we admit. Draymond Green is a perfect example of a player whose value is entirely contextual. Put him on the 2000s Nets instead of Kmart, and he's probably a solid role player who never sniffs an All-Star game. Put Kmart on the Warriors instead of Draymond, and actually, it is hard to say Kmart couldn't shoot threes, which would have been a problem in Golden State's system. The fit matters as much as the talent. Lesson 2. There are different ways to measure success. Kmart's framework, can you carry your own brick, is legitimate. So is Draymond's framework, how many championships did you contribute to? Neither is wrong, they are just measuring different things. If you value individual dominance, Kmart was probably the better player. He could score, defend, and carry an offense in a way Draymond never could. If you value team success and knowing your role, Draymond was probably more valuable. He maximized his skill set within a system and contributed to a dynasty. Lesson 3. The best player isn't always the most valuable player. This is the lesson the NBA is still learning. Draymond proved that a guy who averages 8 points a game can be essential to winning championships. that is genuinely revolutionary. But Kmart's counterpoint stance: if Draymond is essential because he is the ultimate complementary piece, then calling other players underachievers for not having his ring count is hypocritical. Draymond's rings are partly their achievement, the stars who made his role possible. Here's the thing nobody expected. Kmart didn't want to keep fighting. He ended his response with an invitation.
Let's sit down and have a conversation, Draymond. You and I sit down and let's talk basketball. Let's talk.
And honestly, that is probably how this should end. Because at the end of the day, these are two guys from the same struggling Michigan City who both made it to highest level of professional basketball. Kmart was a number 1 pick who went to 2 finals and had a 15-year career. Draymond was a second-round pick who became a 4-time champion and will be in Hall of Fame. Both of them overcame the odds. Both of them represented Saginaw on the biggest stage. And both of them are now wealthy professionals arguing about who had the better career on podcasts. There are worse problems to have.
Let's sit down, Dre. Like, I don't dislike you, bro. Like, I don't want no smoke. Let's sit down, let's talk basketball.
Maybe that is the real elixir here. Not who won the argument, but the recognition that they have more in common than either wants to admit 2 Saginaw kids who made it out. The only difference is how much help they needed carrying that brick.